Yeah. And he writes here, hey guys, my boss has made me the AI expert at work. Well, congrats on that, Hector. Big accomplishment. And I'm not really sure where to start, which doesn't sound like an AI expert at the least. Can you give me an example of an AI powered workflow that could help me onboard new clients at our small marketing agency? So, Duncan, I'm going to go to you for the answer here because you are our AI architect here at Strong Coffee. A few things of note inside of Hector's letter here. First of all, being called the AI expert and he doesn't really know what he's doing. Probably happening a lot in different businesses around the world right now. Also,
Imposter.
see that Hector is also now working at a marketing agency, so a bit of a competitor of ours now, which we welcome it, Hector. We're here to help, and good to see that he's back too. Good to see that he's back. Hope he has a great holiday season as well. So, Duncan, this is something that I know I was doing some teaching this month and last month and had a lot of questions about AI and people just saying, well, like, I don't even know where to start. Like, do I just type stuff in GPT and it does stuff? So I know you've been working kind of in the background at our agency trying to get some different workflows in place. And I think that's a great place to start for people is understanding how to build these workflows. Yahoo Pipes 5.0 kind of idea. So maybe talk a little bit about an AI powered workflow that somebody like Hector could start, or maybe something you've been working on, a simple one that to kind of get people's minds going as to what could happen.
Sure. So everyone knows the basic ChatGPT box where you just go and type and ask it a question. And this is where I think there's a lot of confusion is people are like, well, yeah, I can use it to ask a question and I can get it to, write a piece of content or write some copy for me. But that's kind of the extent to which I can use it. But there's actually like two parts to ChatGPT. There's the one that you can play around with, which is pretty advanced. And it's actually, I'd say one of the more advanced just out of the box tools that you can get if you pay for the subscription. But there's also something called Playground where you more or less build your own GPTs. Now this is where there's a lot of power because you can kind of customize the message that you're giving it. And then you can also customize the output that you get back. So an example of how you can kind of use this for onboarding. Well, we've done this actually. So if you build a Google form that asks sort of the series of onboarding questions that your agency would always ask a client when you're onboarding them, most marketers now can probably do this by memory. They kind of go through, what is your audience? What is your business? What are you trying to sell? Like those questions are all pretty repetitive. You know what you're going to ask the client, but you could set up an automation where, okay, you're talking to the client, you're meeting with them, and you're literally just filling out a form that you've already built that has all these questions set up. You ask them for their business name, you ask them for their email, the client contact name, you ask them for, details about their website, what the business is, what kind of, voice or tone they want, whatever that may be. You go down the list of all the marketing things, ask them about their audience, geographics, etc., where they want to target things. That could trigger multiple different automations with these little custom GPTs that you made. So I know this is still sounding a little complicated, but what you can effectively do is filling out this one form could then, build a workflow where you have a client folder in Google Drive that this is the client summary. This is some copy ideas based on how they wanted the tone written and what they're trying to sell. Keyword ideas, even keyword research can be automated so that it all gets sent to the same Google Drive folder. You can have their email and contact information sent to a CRM. So as you fill out this form, you can kind of have these GPTs set up to use the information to create prompts for custom GPTs that have been told to do certain things. And that could be to write keywords, write copy, write a client summary, come up with marketing strategies. Like you can do all of these things and then have them either fed to your inbox, a Google Drive folder, or both, all from literally filling out a form. And again, it is a little complicated to set up, but once it's set up, it's automatic, it's automated. and it's using ChatGPT in ways that normally someone would have to manually enter in all this stuff and ask it these questions. But once you set up the automations, you literally have all this information just being sent immediately upon submit of that Google form, and you can have it do incredible things that you normally would have to either do manually or set up just like linking products together, like MailChimp or whatever it may be. But it does it all by itself, and that's where I see a lot of power with this. Is you can really use your imagination on how you work with customers and what services you can provide to simplify their lives, but also simplify your life to build these. What's the right word? Simplify their life, just building the services out for your clients. So sometimes I find that you go through the same process and you forget something. This basically means that you won't forget it because you've built the framework already. And that's what I kind of really like about it. And that's what I would recommend doing for an onboarding is build a form, set up some automations behind it, and send their emails, understand what kind of content they want, add them to your e-news, send them back response emails. Like there's so many different things you can do with it depending on your business model and what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things about this and the workflows that you've been building, it's not like, people think, oh, now that AI is here, all you're going to do is you're just going to give me a bunch of AI generated content and images and it's going to just come out of a robot and everything's done. This is more getting rid of the boring stuff so you can do the fun and interesting stuff. So to your point, in the time it would take for you to conclude an onboarding meeting, and whether it's in person or through Google or Zoom or what have you, by the time you end that, within these folders or within Teamwork, the management system we use, or wherever it might be, all that information has already been parsed and organized so you can get back to your desk, and it's kind of like it just saved you an hour's worth of taking all the information you got from a meeting and dropping it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And there's hours saved right there, right? So now all of a sudden that hour, now you can actually use that hour to let's start thinking about a campaign idea, or let's start using some of the prompts that we've been given ideas. Let's start building those out. So it's very much taking that boring stuff out.
The cool thing is you can also set up that. So you have all this information about the client. You can even guide it to come up with campaign ideas. You can guide it to come up with a strategy, even if you don't end up using the strategy or even using parts of it. But depending on what you wanted to do, I guess the world's your oyster is my point. So sometimes it's, create ad copy and come up with keywords. That's easy. But what about coming up with a overarching campaign strategy, or coming up with 10 different creative ideas that would fit this niche? Like you could have it do this all by itself. It could come up with 10 blog posts if you wanted to. You can literally, it's like, think of it kind of like a flower or almost like a fractal. Your imagination on what you want to do with this client is your only limiting factor. You can do so many different things that add value. And then it is, like I say, it's pretty automatic. We're using it in a lot of different ways to solve problems and make things simpler, but also adding value to our clients. But the onboarding thing is mostly just adding value to our ability to provide services, and also, setting up our CRM. It could do invoicing. It could do a lot of different things. It's quite cool.
Yeah. And allowing us to do the stuff we really enjoy doing. That's the big thing for me. And I think when people say, well, is it going to take away jobs, etc.? No, it's just going to allow us to, like you said, your imagination, you can actually do more of that fun, creative stuff because so many of the other things have been taken care of. So
I do think it will be taken care of.
Well, hopefully not our jobs.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. I know we're probably way over time, but there's posters up right now in San Francisco and various other places about it's an AI. They're basically saying that humans only want to work 8 hours, so you use a robot instead, and it'll work whenever you want it to work. Wow. We're starting to see this shift. I actually just saw the posters today, but it was like, your AI assistant doesn't work a 9 to 5. And so we're starting to see the limitations of humans be positioned as a negative for workflow and getting work done, which I find an interesting shift. It doesn't necessarily mean people will lose their job. It simply means that there may not be hiring, which is why I think we're kind of seeing a lot of issues with people coming out of school and not getting hired, is because this tool can basically do a lot of that legwork and heavy lifting, which is unfortunate for that generation for sure.
And perhaps the jobs that are really required right now, there isn't training available for those people to, you're coming out now with a skill set that maybe isn't as required as other skill sets, where these tools are changing what we need to do on our ends to get them to work. So lots to think about there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it will perhaps make us as a population and a society reevaluate what humans are actually good at. Like when Henry Ford brought out the Model T, it was completely built by humans, because that was not because humans are great at building cars, but because that was your option. And now cars are built through massive factories that are 99% done by robots and machines and whatnot. And it makes you sort of think, well, in the past, what jobs have fallen to humans just because that's the only way to do them? And now there's bound to be parts of every job that an AI or a robot or something like that is going to be better than a human at, and there are going to be elements that humans are better than robots at. So
think of how far we've come in about 2-3 years with AI.
Absolutely.
In 10 years, it's going to fundamentally transform.
It'll be a different world
in general.
Just make sure you're kind to your tools then. That's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway I got from this was say thank you to ChatGPT. And I really do want a robot that can walk around like Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. That'd be fantastic. That's AI right there. Because she had a heart too.
Didn't Tesla come out with those robots? They had a video, and then there was like the whole thing about people being actually in those robots. Like wasn't real.
There was, I think, at the original unveiling event. Yeah, it was just a guy in a suit, because they obviously didn't have any prototypes at the time. So it was like
classic.
The robot dogs scare me. The ones, what is it, the Boston Dynamics or whatever they are, where they're jumping on things? Not sure about that.
I thought you were talking about the one that had the gun attached to it, the robot dog with the gun.
Oh, I wouldn't want one of those.
I think they're more for bombs, but anyways.